Okay. Hello, Euro. So, Euro, I totally apologize for the disconnection. It was really beyond my control. So, let me try to resume answering here how we get the difficulty score for actually both the row and the column. If you would like to do that in one function, so I would say that we can do it this way. So, we initialize the row scores array. Um, and it should be according to the height, which means that, uh, so if you, give me a second, maybe I try to use the pen here. I think it's, instead of just pointing with, okay, let me try to connect the pen here. Okay, then I try to, so if we assume that, okay, so if we assume that we have, oops, so assume that this is our checkerboard, and then definitely here is the column, and here is the row as we know. So we should initialize our row scores based on the height, because the height typically is here, and the height determine the number of rows that we have here. So assume that we have something like that. So it means that, okay, this is row 0, row 1, row 2, and row 3. So if the height is having um, 4 rows, so that's why you need to have the row score have maybe 4 places, or the size become 4. So initially we created to have 4 empty zeros, so it become, this line will produce something like 0, 0, 0, and 0, like that. Okay, so if we have the widths having only maybe 3 places, so this will result into, and it also will make us have 0, 0, 0. So this is the 3 places that we initialize according to the widths, and the widths here is representing the columns, the number of columns. We have 2 for loops. One for loop, the outer for loop is for going through the rows. The second for loop is going through the columns. And then, so when we are here, okay, which is the first place. So at row 0, this is start from 0 definitely. And this will go maybe up to the height, which is 4 places. So assume that it goes from 0, 1, 2, and then 3, like we are having here. This is just a sample. So, and this will start from 0, 1, and 2, like we are doing here. So once we are at row 0, so we are here, and we will check every column that we have here at row 0 if it is containing an obstacle. If it contains an obstacle, then we will increment the row scores. Both arrays will be actually incremented, but at different places. So imagine, let us try it like this, So it's R, when R is equal 0 at the start here, when R is equal 0, and C is equal 0. So what we do here is that um, we check if this is an obstacle. If it is an obstacle, if there is an obstacle here, with the assumption here, so it means that R equals 0, so we will increment the row scores by 1, okay? And then we will also increment the C, which is at position 0, which is at the column 0, I say here. We will also increment it by 1 if we have one, how to say, column here, okay? So if we have C0 here, and if you have an obstacle at this row, at this specific position, we will increment by by 1, okay? So here at column 1, we will be incrementing by 1. So once the C increment, so now this is the column scores. And here we have 0, we have 1, and have 2 according to the columns. So if you see an obstacle, you will increase that become 1. And then definitely also at the row here, you will increment by 1. So become 1. Let us assume that here does not have anything. So if we loop again, so it means that we need to loop through all the columns. After that, we increment the row to become here. So here there is nothing, but here there is another obstacle. So here we will increment nothing, but if we come at when the C equal 2, so the C here become equal 2. So no longer the C equals 0, the C is equal 2. And the row still 0. So we are at the row 0 and the column here. So here, if we see an obstacle, so the row, which is here, so we will see that we need to increment the row. The row again incremented because why? We have 2 obstacles on the same row. So this will be incremented to become 2. We add 1 to it, so it becomes 2. Now, the C, at the moment, we are at the position 2. We are at the C2, which is the last column that we have in this simple sample board, okay? So when we have 2 here, and then we notice an obstacle, so we will increment at position 2, we will increment here by 1. Okay, so now you notice that just using one if statement, we managed to actually increment both the row scores, which is here. This is the row scores. And this is the column scores, okay? So we continue like that. We will find ourselves coming to row 0, and then we come to check here, column 0, column 1, column 2, we exactly need to increment. So at the end of the day, this number will be able to represent how many obstacles we have in the row 0. And this will represent how many obstacles we have at column 1. And at column 2, this number will represent how many obstacles we find. Okay? And the same goes here. So here is representing the rows, and here is representing the columns. So now what if we check this is just a simple code where you actually divide instead of just finishing or building the list in one step. So you will find yourself that we actually, let me try to clean this so that the thing is a bit clearer to us. So, okay, here, this is just an helper function. And every time we go through a single row, we will call that function, which is inside the append. And this is just to simplify, not to simplify, just to write it in a compact way. So what we need to insert to append is the number returned by this method. This method will return the count, how many obstacles in a single row. So it will go for every, so this will take a whole row. Assume that there is 2 obstacles here. So it will go through every cell here, and it will return the count of the obstacles in this whole row. So definitely that will result in, for example, here, 2 obstacles. So 2 will be inserted into this difficulty, which is building the row difficulty score, okay? Now, in this is totally same concept, but we will be building here the difficulty score for every column. So you find similarity here, but of course, to be able to target the columns, we have to go through a different way. So here, we are not using the for each loop like we're doing here. We are, so we talk about the widths. So if this is a width, which means that how many columns, assume that there is 3 columns here. So you'll find that our column index start from 0, 1, 2 here. So this is in total 3 columns, okay? So for every one of those, we will call count obstacles in column, and we will pass it the index. So one time we will pass it 0, second time we'll pass it 1, third time we'll pass it 2. So if you see here, now we're looping not for every column in the row, but actually we're going through every row on the board. So for every row here, we will actually check. So we will go through all the rows here just to check that this, for example, column index 0 here, put it in another line. This is 0. Okay, so this is a column index 0. We have 1 and we have 2. So we have 3 columns. Okay, so when we call this function with the input 0, so we will find ourselves going through every row. So this is row 0, row 1, and row 2. And then, but we are going only to check not everything here, just only focusing on the column that is specified by the input here that comes. So when we call when we say that column index is 0, so we will focus only on this column. So we'll go through every row and check how many obstacles here. Okay, so just focus here. If you see that our row here are only focusing on this specific column that was specified by the input. We will never go and check here, although we are going through every row, but we will not go from here to here to here to here. No, we will actually focus on this 0. So once this increment to 1, we will pass 1 to this function, and we will call it again, and then we will go through every row, but we will focus on counting the obstacles in this specific column, which is column 1 in this case. Okay, so that is indicated by this if statement. This if statement say, when for the row 1, when you have this row, so definitely here we will go through row 0, row 1, row 2, but we're going to focus on this specific row. We only focus on this cell, this cell only, and this cell only, and this cell only. That's why we're having square bracket index 1. Okay, so the index 1 will make us focus from this row, we only focus on this portion, okay? So you return the count, you find, every time you find a number, you insert it into the difficulty list, and then you return the difficulty list. By finishing this, I think we really tried our best to try every possible exercise that we are able to do. My advice to you is try to practice 1 or 2 times if you have time to actually implement one of the exercises that we, especially the difficult ones that we already took. This is just to make your brain remember what we have done since the start. And good luck for you tomorrow. All the best for you. Take care.